Cheers.
Cheers. It's quite strange doing this and not having any kind of alcohol.
Yeah. Good job, though.
Yeah.
Sam is... Sam has created a challenge for himself akin to Sober October on steroids. And so no alcohol for Sam. But that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Maybe not yet.
Okay, so real quickly, two things. One, thank you to a special individual for the new lens. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It should look about the same because we have it at the setting that we would film at
With our other
the
lens.
other lens. Yep. But thank you. It's fucking awesome. Okay, so first off, what do you think is appropriate if guests are coming into your home in regards to how you leave the toilet seat?
Oh. Are you talking like cleanliness or like up
No.
or down? Or
It needs to be absolutely clean.
Yeah.
Unacceptable.
Okay,
It's not.
okay.
Yeah. I'm talking like, not the seat, I'm talking the lid. Okay. Which do you think and why is more inviting to your guest? You leave the seat or the lid up or the lid down?
Yep. I have a feeling I'll probably contrast you on this, but mine would be down. So it's been burned into me from my ex-wife. But I like it now. It's more aesthetically pleasing. It's not just inviting, your literal toilet open. That'll be my rationale there. But I'm going to go ahead and say, what is your general opinion on that?
So I like to leave the lid up because first off, I like to keep it as clean as possible. Right?
Yep.
For me, like when I go into someone's home and it's down, two things get me. One is having to touch the lid.
Okay.
And the second thing is the element of surprise. I don't want that.
It's not what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Toilet.
So for me, I'd much rather walk in and be like, toilet, and look. And yes, it's open, but I can immediately see it's perfectly clean. And it's like, okay, clean toilet. Okay.
I get you from the touching aspect. From the unknown aspect, I would just imagine it's generally clean. Like that's the assumption if I'm going to a guest house. But
get this. Which would you feel worse? If closed toilet looks clean on the outside, you open it and it's dirty, and now you realize I just touched a dirty toilet, or you walk in and it's a dirty toilet and you're like, I think I'll make decisions based on this.
I get your rationale.
But I guess why are you hanging out with people who have dirty toilets?
That's your real question.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay.
And serious question though. Let's say you like something. We've kind of dabbled on this a couple times. But we haven't specifically targeted this, I don't believe. If you're in the middle of something that you really enjoy and you really like and you think is good, how do you know to stick with it? Like, what are some green lights?
Yeah, what are some indicators that you should continue this path?
Yeah, or green flags. What are green flags? Yeah.
Okay. So I look at that with the first thing that pops in my head is kind of the opposite. Like, what are the things that you would avoid? But let's run with your idea. You're doing something, you feel it's useful and healthy. I guess my first thought would be, is it impeding at any point of your life? Is it being a net negative in any other way? Like, yes, it may be a positive. I'll take gym as an example. Go to the gym.
I thought you were talking about a guy.
We weren't going to say that out loud.
Sorry,
Jim.
Jim.
So you're going to the gym, and it takes your time. You pick out whenever you're in your schedule, you're going to do it. It is good for you from a healthy standpoint. We know this.
Yes.
Now, say you have kids, you're married, you're busy, you have something else in your schedule that it's eating up your time. Now, the gym in and of itself, by a neutral entity, is probably good for you. Going and exercising is good for you. That's objectively true. But is it good for your life where you currently are in the season that you're doing it? Maybe, maybe not, because now it could be a net negative where it's soaking up your time that you should be spending in other places. So, gym being the example, I've had to come to terms with this at times where either I have stuff scheduled that's going to interrupt what I would do with my gym time, or I'm going to be traveling and I won't be able to go to the gym. And that used to drive me insane because I was like, this is what I need to do. It's healthy. I need to do this. But I've come to terms with it. Like, I've come to peace with this in the sense that taking it in seasons of life. So 1 month, doing great. Then I have a week where it's like, oh, on Tuesday, I have this meeting after work. It's going to ruin my gym time. I won't have enough time afterwards. And then also on Thursday, my time is screwed up because I have to travel here or do whatever. And what I've done recently is I kind of just at peace with myself go, this is not going to serve me right now. I'm going to take this week off or however long I need to take off, and I'll get back at it when it's useful. Okay. So that'd be one area. Okay. I guess, what are your thoughts on this?
Any more areas?
Yeah, I do love this question because it's not so straightforward, right? Things that seem like they're good for you may not be, but they also can be. And how do we determine that, right? Like, what's the actual criteria to judge that by?
Real quick side note, these cigars are incredible.
Yeah.
And just the craftsmanship of the bands.
Oh, do it.
I'm such an amateur at this. I don't even know. They're probably not called bands. They're probably called, who knows what they're called, but man, the absolute craftsmanship of these.
The dude did not tell us wrong.
Yep. Okay, back.
So, I guess, can you give me an example or a thought of something that you would wonder, is this useful? Is this not useful?
So, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know the topic at hand. I fucking love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in it.
Yep.
This thing in life has come up. I've decided I'm invested in it. I want it. I'm willing to do my part to do what I can to make it the come to the best fruition possible, the best fruit possible.
Yep.
And on the surface, it's like, this is a really good thing. It's worth my time and investment and energy, right?
Yes.
I guess just from your perspective, and this is usually we try to, I think usually we try to like deconstruct negativity around things. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm kind of shaping it differently.
Yeah,
like,
what's the positive?
Yeah, like I said green flags. I don't think that's right. I think it's green lights, right?
Yeah.
The phrase should be. Like, what are green lights? Like, how, if let's say you're in something good and you might, and I'm not saying I do have doubts because I don't, but let's say little doubts were to arise, like you get those questions like, is this, yes, going to the gym's good. Should I not be though?
Yep.
What are some green lights
that are like, no, this isn't objectively worth your effort?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So it would be the exact opposite as deconstructing. We're actively constructing our ideal metric here. So for me, it's like, first, is it adding value to your life? All right. Can you mark up, like if you had to write it down, is this adding value to your life? Is it giving it meaning? Is it giving it purpose? Is it building something? Is it creating something? Is it lifting up? Right? So that's your first step.
Yep.
So with that marker checked off, it's really, I don't know how else to look at this, but then it does turn into, if you know that it is adding value, that's your positive indicator. So after that, it turns into, is there anything that is detrimental about it?
I'm going to add on.
Oh, please do.
Before we get to the detrimental. And the adding value probably encompasses this.
Sure.
But just to point out specifically.
Let's do it.
Does it make you, like, does it add value? But also, does it push you to be a better person to better the world around you? Because if something would be very valuable for you, but at the same time does not push you to be a better version of yourself. It does not push you to add more value around you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's applicable, dude. I'm thinking of, I know what you're referring to, and I'm trying to think of this in a sense where we don't just like nail it on the head. But I guess there's two categories in my mind. There's people and there's things. So if we're talking about things, like activities that you can do.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Can I
Yeah.
can I insert a terrible joke? A terrible joke?
Go at it.
This is a joke.
It's real.
You said there's two things. People are things. And I was going to say, unless it's women, which is both. So it's joke. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, but as you were talking, I watched it line up. So, assuming we're talking about one of those two things. So, we'll go with the things aspect first.
Okay.
So, if we're talking about things that add value to your life, and you bring it's just going to be there now.
Dude, that's such a bad joke.
Yeah, but it was there, and you hit it. So, if we're talking about things in your life that you're adding, this is either actions, activities, or tangibles. Maybe more than that, but we'll run with that. Everything is in that frame of reference now.
Okay, sorry. Say that again, because I missed it.
Yeah, you're good. So with things, we're talking about either tangible items or activities that you're doing. Those would be your things, right? So you're adding either tangible physical items, maybe you work on them, maybe put effort into them. But then there's activities, the gym, eating healthy, changing what you're doing, switching routines, adding activities, whatever it is.
Okay.
So in those categories, we look, is this adding value to my life? Is it not taking away from other things that are more valuable than this? Because it's okay if it takes away from other things, right? Like it can soak up your time. Maybe you were doing something else that wasn't worth your time, and this is more worth your time.
I mean, and yeah, maybe we're doing something that was worth your time, but this is just adding more value.
Exactly.
So it's even, like you said, more worth your time.
Is it better than something else? Is it replacing something that it is better than?
Are you bringing up the overall average?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And with that one, again, that turns into seasons of life. What season are you in? Is it useful now? Maybe it's not useful all of the time. Whatever it is. But I think things are broken into seasons because I don't think there's maybe. Not all things are constant and not all things should you maintain forever. Right? So there will be seasons where it's more useful to do this and less useful to do this.
Yes.
But if you're wondering if it's good for you to do in general, just start off by, is it adding value? Is it replacing something, adding to something that creates more? Then we get into the people aspect. So this one's a lot more diverse because we all are in relationship with people at all times. It is nearly impossible to do life alone. And if you are, I almost guarantee it's not by your own will that's happening. It's more circumstance where you're either unwilling, don't know, or something.
So rare. It's usually the people who just like leave society.
Mm-hmm. It's like driven by ignorance, more or less, or some kind of negativity. Mm-hmm. So is it good to add people into your life? What is that criteria of when it is good to add someone into your life? And the first thing that popped in my head, the real reason I was going down this bifurcation was essentially because of a topic we were talking about recently. So we were discussing the concept of being open, and what being open is it useful, right? Yes, highly useful. In fact, be as open as you can, as often as you can. Now, my only caveat to that is people confuse openness with vulnerability, which in thinking about it, I think we did cover vulnerability just briefly in, I can remember one of the episodes, but yeah, to cover that in a little bit more depth. What that essentially is openness is discussing anything you feel is necessary for whatever reason you feel it's necessary. It's not hiding, it's not squandering away, it's not avoiding things, it's saying, yeah, I need to talk about this, whatever. Vulnerability, though, that only has two directions when you invite people in. It has, you throw it out there, and now somebody can receive it. There's only two things they can do with it when they receive it. They can either take it and nurture it and build it up, like essentially build you up from that vulnerable location.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can take it and now they can actively damage you with it.
Yes. What is your distinction between the two?
It's exactly what I just said. So it is that. Is the information for information's sake? Or is the information, when shared, going to either cause you to closen your or increase your connection or damage it?
So does the openness, when you're being open, does that information you're sharing, when it's received, have a pull on you?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just saying something about yourself and doesn't matter how they react, it just doesn't matter to you, then that would just be straight openness. But if it's like, hey, I'm being open with you, but this is also something that can, like, how you react will have an effect on me.
Yes.
It's something I still hold as valuable. Maybe it's like a negative value, like a pain, if you will.
Yeah, it's more often than not some kind of...
Yeah, or it's something I love, something something I hold very dear.
Yes.
Has some, I would think, like vulnerability has like emotional attachment to it.
That's probably true. That's probably very accurate. And yeah, like I think one thing you said there is really good, because with openness, I think of having like a discussion with somebody who doesn't agree with you on something. Do I care what this person thinks? At the end of the day, if we totally disagree and we get in a blowout fight over it, is that going to ruin my well-being? Yes or no? That might determine its level of vulnerability.
Yeah. So like you could say something to a stranger at a bar.
Yep.
You don't care about this. Like you care about them as a human, but you'll never see them again. Doesn't matter. However they react, it doesn't matter. So you start dating someone. You go to meet their friends. You have a disagreement. You share that same bit of information.
Yes.
How they react, how you react to them now has a lot of pull, because let's say it's the first time you're meeting their friends and they're watching you because they know you're going to have a disagreement, at some point. And they're just observing, like, how are you going to handle this?
Yep.
Are you going to handle this maturely, respectfully? Are you going to make a deal of it? Are you just going to let it slide? Are you actually going to stand by your morals? Or are you going to lose all the strength in your backbone, all the rigidity in your backbone? So it's like the same thing you're sharing, the same thing you're open about, but now there's a completely different weight.
100%. 100%. And yeah, I think that is it. It's who you're sharing it with. What's the relation? What do you want out of what you're actually sharing?
I guess what's the potential effect of?
So then that begs the question: should we be vulnerable? Should we be very vulnerable with people?
Well, I think it depends. I think it completely depends.
Okay. When should we not be?
Are you preparing to make an investment? If you're not going to make an investment, then why would you waste your energy and time?
Yep.
Be nice. Spend the time in that interaction. Yes. Be open with them. Sure. But if you're attaching emotional weight to it, why would you do that with someone at a bar who you just met, who you're never going to see again? That's kind of fucking dumb. Sorry for that thought. However, it's like I am investing in you. I don't see you as someone I'm with right now, whether that be a family member, friend, romantic. It's like, I see you in 50 years, God willing. Well, then you have to be.
So then that brings up my other thought is, why would we want to be vulnerable?
Because you want a stronger relationship. You want a closeness. You want a bonding of your souls, a better understanding, a closeness, a deeper friendship. If you're going to be around someone for 40 years, why would you want to still just talk about the Packers and your favorite beer and go throw darts? It's like, that was fun for a year with you. Now let's get into some deeper things. Because when we're, hopefully if we're 70 years old talking, are we still going to be like the main focal point? the nucleus of our conversation is going to be like, oh, I still love this beer that you've seen me drink over 4 years. I still love throwing darts. It's like, and yeah, that'll be a little conversation, but like that shouldn't be the nucleus.
No.
You know, because it's like you want to, you should be growing.
Yes.
You should be expanding. You should be enveloping all in all coming within you. And it's like and as you grow, the things you view as important change. The things that matter to you change. Thus, the topics change. Thus, your interests change. And you want someone who's growing with you. And maybe even part of it is that you don't want to feel as though you're some sort of psychotic outcast. And you want someone to be able to relate to you. And, you're like, dude, am I off the freaking chain hook?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, dude, you're right on.
Yes.
But you can't get that with someone who just knows how to talk about darts and beer and the Packers. They're like, bro, like, funny joke, bro. Like, and they, and we've all seen this where you go to someone who you think you're closer to than you actually are and who you hold very dear.
Yes.
And you'll open up to them. Like, dude, this is a big thing. And you'll throw out that maybe you won't just tell them, you won't say directly, dude, I need to talk to you about this, but you'll throw out the bait of vulnerability. You'll take a little worm on the hook. You'll cast out a little worm of vulnerability and you're kind of waiting to see how they react to it.
Yep.
And if they're like, give me that, pull you in, like, I know what's going on here. What's wrong? What's up? I'm here.
Right.
Nope, my schedule just cleared, dude. I got 2 more hours. What's going on?
Yep.
If need be. Versus someone who's like, you cast that line and they're like, this isn't Packers. This isn't beer and darts. Like, funny. So yeah, Kyle, like immediately evading the conversation, immediately evading the topic.
Yes.
Because you don't want that. That's not good for you.
No.
It's like, it's fun in the moment.
Yeah, but it's fleeting. It adds no value.
It's fun, but it's not deep. It's
Correct.
Shallow waters.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong with shallow waters, playing in the shallow waters. But if you go to the beach, it's fun to play on the beach, but occasionally you just want to jump into a wave and get rolled around, Like if you were to live indefinite, you were to never die.
Mm-hmm.
Would you only stand in the water that's up to your knees for the rest of your life? No.
Right, you need to get in.
No, you need to. Yeah, maybe you go in deep and then it's like, whoo.
Maybe it's scary. Maybe you have drowned.
I'm running out of breath. I need to get shallow. Like,
yes.
I can't, because you can't stay deep all the time.
Yep.
It's like,
you don't know how to swim perfectly all the time.
Yeah, it's like, I'm running out of breath. So let's get back into the shallow water, catch our breath, enjoy the view. Yeah, because that's something nice about the shallow, because you can just sit there lightly and appreciate your surroundings. You can appreciate the sunset and the beach and the dog shitting on it. And it's like, all these things are so great. But you have to be able to play in both.
You do.
Depths.
You do. And I think I loved your analogy with the fishing, throwing it out there. Because one thing I like to do is I actually like to throw out what I would call light vulnerability. Not that that's a category, but things that I'm opening up to you. But I also am not overly attached to this thing that I'm opening up to you about. You could take it. You could nurture it. You could make it wonderful. But if you do nothing with it, I'm not going to be worse off. So I love that as an activity. Because that is exactly how I throw the line out there. I go, either I ask a question that will produce some level of vulnerability in someone, or I'll offer up my own vulnerability and just throw it out there and see how it's received from someone.
Okay. And what's the objective of this?
To grow deeper, to expand, to learn, to get to know people, see if they are worth my time.
Okay. So you're trying to see if the potential for a deeper relationship with this individual is possible.
Yes.
Okay. Therefore,
check. That's good. I like that.
Jocko.
Yeah.
You want Jocko?
Yep. But I don't know what it is, but I've realized recently there is entirely like a wall of people who are unwilling to do this.
Why do you think that is?
The most likely reason is, one, they don't know how to do it healthily. They've not experienced that. And the reason for that is some level of trauma in their life. Some level of trauma. So So we live our stories, right? That is what we're processing, is a story at all times. And in somebody's story, it could be shaped in a way where all they've seen is just bad news and things that don't work out.
Every time they've tried to open up, they've gotten shut down. It's been painful. There's pain related to it.
Massively, yes. And if you do that enough at an early age, you don't know how to open that
You
up.
learn to shut it off.
Exactly.
Opening up equals pain.
Yes.
That's the synaptic connection.
100%.
Openness equals pain.
So I think those people are able to do it. It's entirely a willingness. You need to get buy-in to do it. And I have not figured out how to. Well, it's that old adage of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Man, I don't know why, but I bash my head against the wall trying to figure out how to make somebody drink.
Good luck.
I mean, I try pouring vodka down their throat and they just they start choking. I don't know what that is.
Dude, waterboarding, it's not everything it's cracked up to be.
No. It's worth a shot though.
Everyone should try it. Gotta try it. Gotta try it.
But yeah, I don't think there is a way to actively crack into that if somebody's unwilling. Like you can do a lot.
You can only go so far.
Yep.
And you eventually get to the point where you've invested way more than your ROI.
Mm.
And you're thinking, do I do that again? Do I keep investing? Because I'm not getting anything back from this. And it really, let's say for one of my siblings or my parents, there's no choice there. You keep putting in the...
Right.
Maybe after 50 years, 70 years, you're way in the negative. You are so deep in the red. Doesn't matter. You don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
You keep investing. However, when it's someone who doesn't need to be in your life and you don't need to be in theirs, there has to be a somewhat fair ROI for both parties.
Yeah. Actually, I would even put a caveat on what you said. So with the family, I almost completely agree, but I don't fully agree.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Because there's a level where it's like, this is just negative.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Let's say, yeah, you're right.
So, I know we're short on time, but this brings up a kind of an interesting question to me. Is, so say you're friendly with this person who lives in the shallows, and you'd like to take them out deeper, but they will not go. So what do you do with that? Do you remain friends with them?
You change your strategy.
How so? And how do you know it's worthwhile?
Well, first you need to know it's worthwhile.
Okay, so how do you know that?
Do you love them? Are they a good person? Can you still have fun with them? Could you see yourself, if things remain the same for 50 years, could you see still putting some investment into them? Is it worth, if you stayed right where you're at, is it worth still putting in, maybe it's the very minimal effort, but are you willing to put in enough effort to keep that friendship alive for 50 years?
Okay.
Let's say they are.
Yeah.
I would say oftentimes it's not going to be the case. Let's say they are. How about we turn the
Cut it
camera
here,
off.
turn it back on.
Yep. So you've made that decision. They are worth putting in at least the minimal effort to keep that friendship alive for the remainder of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Your strategy changes. At first, you can see this potential in them. You can see this growth you both can go through, and you're being fairly assertive.
Yeah.
For lack of a colloquial term would be pushy.
Yeah.
You're kind of pushy.
Mm-hmm.
Once you realize that they are not responding to that, I think your strategy has to change to always be open to listen if they move the ball forward.
Mm.
Always be accepting. Stop pushing. Always be accepting.
So I inherently feel I agree with you, but I also feel there's some level of something in there that I feel like a breakdown. And I don't know what that is.
So what do you think it is?
So this goes back to the original question of how do you know it's good? So maintenance is good. Stasis, we call that good.
Yep.
So is that really good if your goal is to take them out to deeper water, but they're unwilling to go? Is it actually good at that point?
Is it?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I think it is, but you invest less. Like you were saying, that's correct. I would agree. But I think you invest less time as well. Because the more time you put into that, the more it's just sucking up of you.
I think this is where massive nuance comes into play. Because you could have two friends who've known for the same amount of time. You get to that point with both relationships. You'd have to invest $1,000 a year for maintenance on your vehicle, as a metaphor. But let's say one person's like, well, we're close, but all we do together is this thing. I don't really care, this and this. And it's like, whatever, it's just not worth it.
Right.
The other person, it's like, I watched him break down 6 months ago about a loved one, and they felt the need to vent it out to me out of all people, and they just broke down and they had a fucking night. And we had that, and I was able to just listen or offer advice, whatever the scenario was, and I watched them heal just a little bit, and now I have that emotional attachment to them. So I think there's so much nuance there, and there isn't a specific yes or no. It comes down to the individual relationship, and that's why I said, is it a little bit ago?
Yeah. But I think you kind of answered my question inherently, because what I was thinking while you were talking, and then you got to this point, which is great, was essentially, is it moving at all? Is it moving even this much? Is it moving this much? Because I can do this much. What I cannot do is that much. None.
Yeah.
So the description of having a breakdown, that would be a sense of vulnerability. That would be a sense of connection.
It is movement.
Develop. Yes.
Yes.
So that's it to me.
Okay.
Now the ones that don't move at all, I'm willing to continue keeping peripheral connection, because maybe there is that chance where it does move a little bit. Yeah. And that's worthwhile to me.
Yeah. You're not going to delete their number. Correct.
So then when does it turn into the point? When does this turn into this? When does it turn into this is negative. This is not worth my time?
Probably when they become unattractive.
Yeah, most likely.
You're not going to be with those people.
If you just look at them long enough, they'll look ugly.
It's rough.
Yeah, because I was just talking to somebody recently about how to essentially end friendships, and how do you determine whether what you've chalked up as a friendship is worth maintaining. Worth maintaining or worth ending. Because ending friendships is it's difficult, man. It's like ending a romantic relationship. It's not easy. It's not something anybody wants to do.
Yeah.
But there becomes a time where you actually realize this is a sink on my life. What used to be stasis is now the net negative. So
just because there's no return on investment?
Yeah, zero return. 0.1%, you can function with that.
Yeah, and obviously, you're going to have bouts of negative returns.
Right. Right.
Ebbs and flows, life.
Yep.
C'est la vie. But I guess if you see that, there's absolutely, it's never going to even break zero.
Exactly.
I mean, that's pretty obvious, though. If it's, never going to break zero.
Well, it's not always so obvious. I think of, I have a relationship in my life that I have essentially let dissolve.
Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
I know. Why are we still doing this?
Yeah, fuck.
Oh, my God. So I let her dissolve because for all I would wish this person well, for all that I want them to succeed and do good things in life, and for all the effort that I have put into it, it is a net sink on my life to interact with.
So why do you so keep them in your life?
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't. So the way I look at this is I would love to always maintain the ability to love someone. Always keep that possible. I will never not love someone, but that does not mean I need to interact with them. It does not mean I need to bring them into my life all the time.
Yep.
You know? So like I think of like the family relation where it was like, oh, it's not worth putting effort into because they're so negative or whatever. It's like, it doesn't diminish the fact that you love them. It doesn't take that away. But it does mean you should probably not interact with them. You should probably step away. You should probably take your time, put it into better things.
So I think I know the answer to this, but what do you do if that person tries to interact with you?
That's a good one, because then it becomes overt, not just like in the hidden, right? Then I think you just need to be clear and direct about exactly this. Like stating, hey, I love you. You are a person worthy of being loved.
My moon and my stars.
Only the stars, no moon.
Fuck the moon.
But then also be clear with them on the sense that the relationship we have does not move in a positive direction, at least for me, from my perspective. It's not moving in that positive direction. And I can't maintain consistent interaction while being net negative. So I love you. I'm willing to do life with you if we can move in that direction. But if we cannot move in that direction, then I can't maintain doing life with you.
Just prolonging the inevitable.
Right. Or just constantly pulling you down, one of the two.
Yeah, you're just prolonging whatever. Or not prolonging, but you're just maintaining a negativity, a non-benefit.
Right. But for us humans, man, that is so flipping hard to cut that cord.
Especially when it's someone who you probably care about more than you've ever cared about anything else. And
right.
And I'm not just saying anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying anything, anyone. Like the most care you've ever invested into a noun.
Yeah. Yes.
Is this individual.
It's sad, dude. That's something you actively grieve. Like you need to go through that whole process because it's a loss of potential, right? We were talking about potential last time, but this would be a loss of it instead of a gift of it. And that's something you got to grieve. You don't just, oh, it's gone. Like you go through all the grieving processes and everything.
Especially when it lasts a while because you've had way more time and depth of interaction to create in your imagination so many different, most likely awesome outcomes. Yeah, potentials.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the best just tangible example to give people, wow, I'm like shaky. And I think it's just from being cold in general. But
I notice you're shaking. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally think it's just from being cold. Although I'm not that cold.
It's not that cold out here.
No.
Because I probably run thinner than you, like blood, you know.
Honestly, I think it's just motion. If I like get up and move, then it'll go away. But just sitting and being like cold with the wind blowing.
We could put these cigars out and close the door.
No, not going to make a difference. I'll shake through it.
You want to toss on a jacket?
No, we're good.
I got a Carhartt and a leather jacket. I got a vest. You want to wear a vest?
Oh, yeah. Knee pads. That's what I need.
Dude, a lot of heat. He's lost through the knees.
But I think the best example that people can relate to, because most people have experienced this, is like breaking up a romantic relationship. Whether you're on the receiving end or the delivering end. Like, it's no easy thing to do.
No.
But at some point in time, it happens. And like, it's good that it does happen, because what are you going to do? Perpetuate this bad relationship forever? No. It's so much, that's like easier for people to like conceptualize than friend relationships. Friend relationships, we just like maintain and passively are like, oh, I guess they're fine. But like, it's still, if it's a net negative, you probably should cut it out of your life.
Yeah, I don't think you need to like go to them and be like, yo, dog, peace. But just lessen your interaction.
Right.
And maybe that's a terrible strategy. I don't know. But at least that leaves doors open for potential in the future.
Right. I think this goes over what we just covered. It's like the lessen the interaction, love them regardless. If they push into continuing the interaction, then you have that confrontation of, hey, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
This is what I see. This is what I need. If we can't do that, then we can't do this.
Yeah. Or they've done something that's on the unforgivable spectrum.
Yeah.
And I get people like, no, you should always forgive. I disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that. You should always forgive, but doesn't mean you need to continue and perpetuate. Like you should, so grieving would require you to eventually forgive that person. But you don't need to interact with them. Forgiving someone doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean you forget about it. Like the forgive and forget, that's bullshit. You can forgive and you can understand and you can move on. But you don't need to hold on to like the same thing continuously.
You know, I gotta disagree with your disagreements.
I like it.
I'm thinking of one person right now who, over the course of 10, 12 years, did some things and got their life turned upside down because of it, but continued doing it, massively damaging other people. And they did it for their own pleasure. And they're in prison now. And for me, it's like one time, maybe multiple times over the course of over a decade. And yeah, and maybe this makes me a shit human being. And once we turn off this camera, I'll explain this to you. But I, at this point in my life, am not going to forgive that person. And it had nothing to do with me. They didn't harm me in any way, you know, but seeing their actions or learning of their actions, because I didn't see any of their actions, but learning,
I think I know what this is.
You probably do.
Yeah.
But learning of their actions, it's like, you did that willingly multiple times and you got caught and then you continue doing it and you just didn't see any fucking problem with that. You were just going to do it until literally you got thrown in prison for life and where you physically couldn't do it anymore. And you were just okay with that. And you knew, you could visually see it was harming other people. And no, that's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line.
So a few things on that. First off, thanks regardless. Because, dude, it's real life. Second thing, doesn't make you a shitty human being. It makes you a human being. A human being that processes what you're feeling.
Just a shitty one.
And then the third thing. So the reason I would say you forgive everybody is a lack of forgiveness is the equivalent of essentially drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It does you no good. It serves you in no way. Now, imagine this.
Maybe.
So walk through this.
Okay.
If I forgive this person, does not mean I forget, doesn't mean I condone, doesn't mean I accept their actions. All of those are still abhorrent and should be reprimanded. And you do not need to continue anything with them. What it does is it releases you from the negativity that they hold upon it.
So I guess forgiving someone kind of opens up your mind for them to have better potential in the future.
I kind of don't even care about that. Although, probably.
You know, because if you're like, I'm never forgiving them, you're closing off all possibility of giving them a chance, regardless of how repentant they are, to be better in the future. But if you say like, okay, up to this point, whatever, but I see that you could be better in the future, which I would deem that kind of process as forgiveness.
Yeah.
Then, because the only reason I'm saying this is because I literally just, when you said that, I tried shifting the way I thought about this person. And like, okay, if I did forgive that, and immediately from this moment forward opened up as like, there could be potential there.
Yeah, I do like that version. I do like that. I've never thought about it in that sense, but that gives a little clarity to it. Yeah, I always love the analogy of drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It serves you no good and it won't do them any negativity, as though you're wishing upon them. It's literally just a net negative for you. So the act of forgiveness releases you, but does not condone anything.
Good.
Check. Will that really cover a spectrum?
Check. Man, I was hanging out with a friend the other day, and the check's kind of an inside joke between us.
Sure.
And this person doesn't have the same range into the baritone as I do.
Sure.
Check! Not quite like that. A little higher pitched.
Yeah.
But this has nothing to do with anything, by the way.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so like something happened, and we'll be like, good, 10-4, 10-4, check, you know. And so I'm like, check, you know. And this person goes like they do their check, and it's like, and you can tell like they're going deep.
Yeah.
You know? And it's about at where I sit normally. It's just the funny, dude.
Cracking so a little bit while they're done. Check.
Oh no, you probably know who I'm talking about.
No, offhand, but you tell me later.
Okay. That's so funny. They're probably gonna watch this. You know who you are. Calling you out.
That makes it way better.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
All right, man.
Hey,
yeah.
So we got 11 and a half minutes. I see no need to go over an hour.
Yeah.
But something I was thinking about early on, like at the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Is I've been asking you tons of questions. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you want to ask?
Yeah, so actually I noticed that while like halfway through this, which is why I reciprocated like the why do we do things and the when do you know it's useful stuff. So I was trying to throw them back at you. But right now, no, nothing comes to mind. But what I will do is I'll think about that for next time and I'll have some questions for you.
Perfect. Good to go?
Yep.
Love you, bro. Love you.
Love you too, bud.